Hello, welcome to the Aging Well Network Bitesize Undernutrition training. This series of bite-sized training aims to equip you, whether you're a frontline worker, a professional, or a volunteer, to help identify the signs of undernutrition and dehydration in older adults, as well as helping to create an understanding of what measures to take place to minimize the risk of these, to have knowledge of nutrition and hydration guidelines, and on where to go for appropriate support. In this training video, we're going to look at the nutrition and hydration guidelines for older adults who are at risk of undernutrition. We'll find out why they differ from the general population, look at some of the myths surrounding nutrition for older adults, and look at some top nutrition and hydration tips. So, it's important to note that public health healthy eating recommendations for the general population may actually not be relevant for this age group. As we age, diet and lifestyle should focus on maintaining weight rather than avoiding necessary weight gain. And it should be on eating a range of nutritious foods and being physically active to help maintain weight, muscle strength, independence, and quality of life. And weight loss is not always healthy for this age group. For older adults, extra padding can actually be beneficial and support the body and brain of older adults for the years ahead. Products that older adults may have consumed for years, so things like skimmed milk or low-fat meals and yogurts, may not be the right choice right now. So let's have a look at some of the myths. So one of these myths is that losing weight is a normal part of aging. And losing weight is absolutely not a normal part of aging. As I've mentioned, extra padding can be helpful, and dieting or unintentional weight loss should be avoided. Another one is that people may need less food when they get older. Whereas an older adult's metabolism will slow and their energy output will be less, eating enough food and eating regularly remains key to aging well. Certain foods and drinks may actually be reduced, but other foods need to be increased. This is especially important for protein. Other things you may hear is it's normal to skip meals when you're older, and actually the stomach shrinks, so you don't need as much. Whereas appetite may change, the stomach doesn't actually shrink. And eating smaller portions more regularly helps the aging process. Not eating enough actually accelerates it. So what does a balanced diet look like for an older adult? What do we actually mean when we say eat a range of nutritious foods? So we mean including protein foods several times a day. Protein is important to help maintain muscle mass and repair after illness and injury. As I've mentioned, protein requirements increase slightly with age. So including protein in each meal and as a snack helps to ensure that an older adult will get enough. And in this slide, you can see I've given some approximate weights and measures for protein containing foods so that you understand what a portion looks like. Include starchy carbohydrates like bread, rice, pasta, potatoes, cereal with each meal and snack is a good practice. Carbohydrates are our body's and our brain's main source of energy. It helps us to move around and they help us to think. So as I've said here, these are example weights and measures of carbohydrate containing foods, and including them with each meal and as snacks is good practice, as I've mentioned. Milk and dairy, these are good sources of protein, calcium, and other minerals and fat-soluble vitamins. So including 3 portions of milk and dairy every day helps to maintain healthy bones and also muscle mass. And for older adults at risk of undernutrition, choosing full fat products over half fat or low fat options is recommended. So again, this is against the general healthy eating guidelines. Fruit and veg. Obviously, we know fruit and veg is great. We want to include it in each meal, and they are rich sources of vitamins and minerals that help to keep us healthy. But if someone is undernourished, it is useful to know that they shouldn't fill up on fruit and veg. They are high in fiber and low in calories, and it may mean they don't get all the calories they need to stay healthy. Other things important to note are all types of fruit and veg count, so whether it's fresh or tinned or frozen. And also a good tip is to include a vitamin C rich food with an iron rich food, because vitamin C helps our body take up the iron. So for example, a glass of orange juice with a fortified breakfast cereal is a good start to the day. Let's now look at hydration and why it's important. So staying hydrated helps our body work properly. It lubricates our joints, our eyes, it helps with digestion, it flushes out toxins, and it keeps our skin healthy. But it also helps our brain. It helps with balance, memory, energy, and mood. Unfortunately, dehydration is not uncommon in this age group. As you can see from this slide, 20% of older adults are dehydrated. And this is because as we age, we may not feel as thirsty. And this is particularly important if someone has had a stroke or Alzheimer's. Thirst isn't the only sign of dehydration. So if you feel thirsty, you're already probably a little dehydrated. Other signs that you can watch out for include dizziness, dry lips, tiredness, and confusion. It's also a good idea to get an older person to check their urine. Anything darker than straw colour means they are dehydrated. And if we keep someone hydrated, this reduces the risk of them being admitted to hospital due to things like falls, confusion, urinary tract infections, and constipation. So how do we encourage someone to stay hydrated? We want to aim for 6 to 8 cups of fluid a day. And water is great, but all hot and cold drinks count, including tea and coffee. We may want to look at having a glass or a bottle or a jug near where an older adult sits, so they have a visual prompt to remind them to drink. Obviously, if something like a big jug of water is impractical because it's too heavy, having a portable water bottle near them can be a good way of reminding them to drink. Maybe having a glass in the bathroom so they can have a drink before brushing their teeth. And encouraging foods that are hydrating, so things like soups and stews and even custard. And adding extra milk to cereal as well. One thing to note is we don't want someone to fill up on fluid and reduce the risk of having enough calories. So having a drink just after your meal, not just before. Another thing to which is good to know is that making an older adult who suffers from urinary incontinence aware that drinking less doesn't reduce this risk of urinary incontinence and can actually increase the risk of urinary tract infections. And as ever, with anything nutrition and hydration related, keeping things simple and choosing drinks that are liked and are more likely to be finished. So When we look at tackling undernutrition, we want to try the food first approach. But what do we actually mean by this? We want the food first approach helps to reduce the unnecessary use of prescribed supplements, favouring instead a food first approach. So things like having fortified foods, which we'll talk about in a minute, and having homemade foods and drinks over prescribed supplements. So general principles for the food first approach are to have meals little and often, so small nutritious meals every 2 to 3 hours. Having full fat foods over low fat or low sugar foods, including energy rich nutritious foods like avocado, peanut butter, full fat yogurt, full fat milk, double cream, butter, those types of things. Making the most of every mouthful, so fortifying foods with fats and proteins, so we're increasing the amount of calories without increasing the portion size. Making it easy for someone to eat, so making sure things in the cupboard are easy to open and prepare, making sure that the cupboards that they're at the right height, so they're not having to bend down, so putting them in the right places in the kitchen, and even having visual prompts and post-it notes on things so that you're reminding someone to eat. And as ever, keeping it simple, choosing small portions of foods that someone enjoys and fortifying them where they can. So lighter meals are a good option when someone wants to eat little and often, and they tend to be simple and easier to make. And with these, what we want to do is add protein and enrich where possible. So with toast, we want to add some protein to it. So like having eggs with it, or some hummus, or cheese, or baked beans. Choosing soups that contain protein. So for example, having a soup that has beans or peas in it over a pure like tomato soup. Or you could add cheese into a soup. Looking at how someone eats and the environment they eat in is also a good thing. So encouraging eating in front of the TV increases the likelihood that more will be eaten. It's the exact opposite of what we say when we're losing weight. So things like pizza or garlic bread or like little quiches, things that are easy to pick up and eat, and you can eat in front of the TV, is a good option. When we're looking at more main meal ideas, again, we want to enrich where possible. So having meals that contain creamy or cheesy sauces, having meat or fish with enriched mash and veg. So that might be adding butter and cream into mash, or adding butter onto your veg. Having things alongside meals that increase the calories, so mayonnaise or salad cream, and not having the lower fat versions. And with a ready meal, we want them to include a portion of veg, but choosing the normal versions over a low fat or reduced calorie version. And more indulgent foods are not off limits and actually can help boost the number of calories eaten, especially if appetite is low. So, for example, encouraging eating some sweet foods with a cup of tea aids hydration and increases calories, and can create an environment in which food is seen as a comfort and a positive experience. So having something with a cup of tea, like some malt loaf spread thickly with butter, or having a scone with jam and butter and cream. So when we talk about making every mouthful count, we can look at fortifying foods. So we increase the number of calories without actually increasing the amount of food. So fortified milk, which we call power milk, is one example. I've just realised there is a typo on this, so ignore that, everyone. It is fortified, not fortifed. So adding 2 to 4 heaped tablespoons of skim milk powder into a jug, adding a little whole milk and whisking until smooth, and adding more milk to make up a pint. This is a fortified milk that can be kept in the fridge for 3 to 4 days. You can use it to make hot drinks, use it in cereals or porridge, to use it to make sauces, use it to add into soups, use it for milkshakes. Other ideas include adding cream into soups, adding butter into mash, adding thick butter on toast, or adding butter into veg. They're all ways of enriching foods without increasing the portion size. So to summarise, our key points are: encourage people to eat little and often. Fortify foods where possible by using milk powder, butter, cream. Add to food using energy, without increasing portion size. Have more protein, so adding extra meat or pulses into stews and soups, and having some protein as a snack. Eat with others, eat in company. It increases the chance that more is eaten. That could be in person, could be on the phone, could even be with the TV. And choose full fat versions of ready meals and snacks and sauces over a lower fat option. Thank you all for listening.